You know when you find one of those challenges that seems so far out of reach and just way out of your league? It feels almost silly to consider it until you find it keeping you up at night, like an itch that needs scratching. Well, this for me was the Atlas Mountain Race. Six months previously to this, I found myself in Kyrgyzstan, doing the Silk Road mountain race. I stepped away from there, completing it, as my first ever ultra. As well, the Silk Road left a huge impact on me, and directed the decision for signing up for the Atlas Mountain Race. A chance to experience a very different country than where I'm from, with a rich culture and a deserty landscape with 4,000 metre peaks. I had the urge to head to Morocco. Once arriving in Marrakesh, I had 4 days to settle in and prepare for the race, as well as explore the city a little. I was so excited to be here. So I'm Becky, I'm 22, and cycling has been a part of my life for a very long time. So I started road racing when I was 11 years old, and thanks to the support of my mum and dad, I continued to race all throughout my childhood. I got to a point where I was racing nationally and then beginning to win nationals. Eventually, towards the end of them 5 years, I was invited to join the Olympic Development Academy, which is a part of the programme for obviously being on the Olympic pathway. Towards the end, I stopped due to a number of different reasons, and I feel like with this, I've just sort of gone full circle now, and I'm coming back to these races, but obviously completely different racing to track and road racing. But I'm coming back with a different mindset of just enjoying the process, having a great experience, witnessing the different dynamics of like culture and the landscape and obviously storytelling. But yeah, I felt so lucky to be in Marrakesh starting this epic adventure. After a long winter, which made training very difficult, but also a great motivation to get out on my bike on those cold, dark nights, it felt great to finally feel the heat on my skin as I arrived in Morocco. In the days building up to the race, it was great to ride the outskirts of Marrakesh, get my first glimpse of the Atlas Mountains, and even explore the Medina with fellow riders. After 4 days of sightseeing and preparing, it was now race day. The race started at 6 p.m, so up until that point I got my bike checked, which is mandatory. I collected my race cap and tracking device. As well, I managed to get some sleep, as I wouldn't be getting much of that for a while. "6 p.m. rolled around and you could feel the tension and the nerves between the 200 plus riders at the start line. I was so excited to start and couldn't wait to head to the mountains.
So we have now set off. I'm not sure entirely where I am, but the pace is just extremely quick at the front of the group. The time is 6:30, been riding half an hour. It's going to be a long, long night.
So it took me all night to get over Tualet Pass, which is over 2,000 metres, and it was a savage pass. There was snow, there was undulating terrain, there wasn't really a path at some points, and you're just picking your way down this mountain. Obviously it's pitch black, so navigating was extremely difficult with the snow and the dark. I really didn't think it was going to take that long, but I ended up getting down to checkpoint 1, which is pretty much the bottom, so you're going up and over this pass, and I got there about 7 a.m, so starting at 6 p.m. from Marrakesh, and it took all that time, and I think it was roughly 70 miles, so that is pretty crazy. So I have to admit, I was slightly nervous about day one, and also the sleep deprivation factor. I'd never done an event where sleep deprivation is involved. I've always enjoyed a good night's sleep, so this was definitely a new challenge, and to be up for that amount of time is pretty crazy, and obviously you're not getting the nutrition and food back. So to get to checkpoint 1, which you kind of got to do in order to finish the race on time, you need to get there that night or the early hours to know that you're going to finish on time. And yeah, I was just so chuffed that I made it there. After probably the longest night of my life, riding from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m, I couldn't believe it when I rolled in at checkpoint 1 the next morning, after such a brutal first day up Tualet Pass. Feeling absolutely knackered, I got an hour of shut-eye before continuing on. Day 2 was extremely hot, and my main focus was to keep hydrated and protected from this intense sun. The landscape didn't disappoint, with the Atlas Mountains towering over me and the constant moonscapes, making this place seem like I was on a different planet. The hiker-bike continued, and I soon realised this route wasn't for the faint-hearted. This barren landscape made me feel vulnerable as my lips cracked and my 4 litres of water diminished, with no river in sight to replenish. I very quickly learned that this is a tough environment, and you have to be switched on with resupplying on food and water at each village. For the next 5 hours, I rode through the most stunning sections of desert with the most unique and intricate pieces of rock.
Bonjour. We are still riding in the dark. The time is 9 o'clock, and yeah, hoping to be at this resupply point very shortly. This section is sure dragging out, just walking through riverbeds. Yeah, got lost a few times.
When the darkness came, I struggled to stay awake as I followed my dynamo light through the night. After 5 hours or so of riding, I reached a cafe at midnight to resupply and get some shut-eye. So the time is 12 o'clock and we've just arrived at this Caf Spada place in, I'm trying to think of the name of it now, it's too late to think. But yeah, got up at, I think it was 9 this morning after an hour's sleep, and now it's 12. I think I'm going to get a few hours of sleep, get some food and stay in here. I was planning on bivvying tonight, but it's freezing and they said that we could sleep in the cafe, so we literally were just setting up our roll mats on the cafe floor, so yeah, that was handy. I then had some hot food, which consisted of a freeze-dried meal and a tagine, inspected my hands, which were slowly going numb, and then got into bed, which I was so ready for. Good morning from Imazine. I am just at the petrol station here, as I'm going to get some food. But yeah, slept like 4 hours last night, kept waking up because there was people coming in and out, and the light was on. I've got the worst cough in the world. I think it's all the dust and the sand. But apart from that, it was nice to actually get some sleep. So some 4 hours rough sleep. I'm going to resupply now before we do a river crossing in a minute, and then I have a 100k stretch of no resupply. So that should be interesting. Why do these challenging trips, people often ask me? The question usually comes into my own head when I'm having a low moment. Other than the experience of an unusual environment and seeing beautiful sights, is a feeling that can't exactly be explained. Having the ability to witness ultimate highs and ultimate lows in a single day. The fact you feel so alive as you're flooded with numerous emotions as you push yourself. You strip the majority of addictions and comfort, ultimately leaving the raw version of yourself and becoming so connected with that, as well as the outdoor world around you. I think being vulnerable creates character, whether you're facing running out of food, getting hit by bad weather, not sleeping or running out of water. These core moments shape you, even long after the race is finished.
Good afternoon. I am currently going up one of the passes on the section, the 100k section that runs from Imazine, I think it is, to Afra. So this section has no water and no food supply, so you have to carry extra. The past couple of days have been carnage, to be honest. I was not expecting the route to be so wild, as in just really steep sections, just relentless really, and also getting lost, navigating through riverbeds, trying to carry your bike over rocks and down mountain passes. So in terms of terrain, there's been some variety, but I'm enjoying it so much, and to feel the heat coming from a UK winter, it's just crazy. There's lots of different factors to adapt to for this, such as the heat, like I said, trying to train through winter, which was a no-go really, because I don't have an indoor trainer. I luckily came on my period the day of the race, which always makes things so much tougher. And yeah, the lack of sleep. The sunrise this morning was insane. It was so beautiful, and it lit up the Atlas Mountains in the distance. And times like those, I just really want to stay in that moment, but you know, you gotta just keep riding. But I was speaking to someone earlier, and we said how you just appreciate time, and you realise how much you faff in maybe your normal life. And I sure realise when I go to a town to resupply or go to get water, how much I faff. And it's definitely discipline to try and get yourself to do things quicker, which I'm awful at sometimes. Very free-spirited, laxy-daisy.
I kept pushing on, covering similar terrain, until this huge gorge appeared, with different shaped mountains surrounding it, giving off similarities to the Grand Canyon. I descended for miles down into this gorgeous scenery before arriving in Afra. Good, thanks.
Oh, hi Becky.
Hey.
Right, hello. I've now left the town and I'm back on the trail. The sun is going down and I'm going to be riding into the night again. I'm a little bit nervous just due to strange situations with like kids and the teenagers today, just pulling on your bars and like holding a stick out a branch to try and take you off your bike and touching you in weird places. So yeah, feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
There was a few points during the race I felt slightly uncomfortable, and you could definitely sense a woman's worth here. I felt most comfortable in the remote sections where only rock, juniper trees and cactus surrounded me. I also loved riding with others and learning about them and their background. It made those long nights more bearable.
95 kilograms, you got enough fat, you'll carry that bike.
Another morning rolled around, waking up on a cafe floor in my bivvy somewhere in Morocco after a rough sleep. I was treated with some Moroccan tea as I began to deflate my thermarest and pack my gear into my tailfin bags, ready for another day. I was extremely grateful when the sun rose that morning, desperately waiting for 4 hours as I drifted off multiple times on my bike. The sunrise was incredible, and witnessing this beautiful landscape made everything worthwhile.
Oh, it's good to see you as well.
It's good morning from the Atlas Mountain Race. It is day 4. The time is 7:30. It's just getting light. Been riding for about 3 hours. Still running on minimal sleep. Feeling very, very tired. I'm just pushing on. I keep waking up with so much blood in my throat, like a blocked throat. So it's not nice, but yeah. It's so nice to see the daylight again. It's been a long, long night.
So, I just went past that building that you might have just seen, and a man came running out with a teapot and a glass, and he poured it, and it looked more like a milky, like milk and tea rather than water. And I drank it, even though I didn't really know what it was. That was really kind though. It was just a very simple interaction of just bonjour, each other's names, and I just said where I'm heading, and it's such a lovely day, so I'm feeling very positive now.
I feel like small interactions like that go a long way. Other people's generosity can really touch you on trips that are challenging, and in turn it has impacted the way I act moving forward.
It was a pleasure.
Whoop whoop, we made it to checkpoint 2. Let's go get some food.
Good morning. Currently having some breakfast. I am very hungry. Set off at 1 a.m. and it's now 8 a.m. So it felt like an extremely long night. Obviously just riding for hours and hours. I fell asleep whilst riding.
The Atlas Mountain Race is sure one of my biggest challenges yet. This race tested me in so many ways, the main hurdles being the sleep deprivation, which obviously makes you feel exhausted, slows recovery, and makes you lack energy. But it also affected me psychologically as well. The heat made things so tough, as well as the isolation here. Completing the race was hard enough as it was for me, let alone capturing my time here.
We are now on the Colonial Road, which is pretty epic. It is a gorgeous road, as you can see, and very well built. I'm loving the race so far, and I love the landscape. I think the route is amazing, and the culture is so interesting to me. But it's a hard race, and I don't think they let that on. When you talk about Silk Road, there's a big image behind it. But in all honesty, I think this one's harder. It's just very challenging. It's so dry. I've had blood in my throat every night and like have coughing fits because of all the dust. There's no water, so there's huge water carries. And there's nowhere to like dip your feet or wash your clothes or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different aspects that make this challenging, and
it isn't easy, and I didn't want to portray it as being easy in my videos, and I wanted to be straight and tell you that I'm struggling, I'm suffering, and there's points I've thought about scratching because I think my why isn't really here. Like, why am I here? I haven't got that really stated firmly, I think. Reflecting back now, I'm so glad I kept pushing through and didn't give up. Suffering and pain isn't permanent. Same goes with comfort and pleasure. So I think it's nice to see both sides of the spectrum so you can understand either party. As well, at this point, over 100 people had scratched, which I was so surprised at. I was also sitting at the back of the mid-pack, rather than battling with the snail like I did at Silk Road. I honestly can't believe I rode 800 miles in Morocco, doing this prestigious race, and I feel endlessly proud of myself for pushing through and just getting on with it. So there's meant to be a lovely path that pans all the way round, but it's literally just collapsed and eroded. So I've got to go down here and take some sort of detour. This is crazy. I don't know how everyone else has got up the other side. So the time is now 12 o'clock and I've just got into my bivvy. I've just set it up. I'm in the outdoor research bivvy, which is super cosy. I've just got my mat and my quilt in here, also all my electrics I'm going to charge now. I'm pretty tired. It's been such a long day. It just feels so good to be in my bivvy. I'm so glad that I'm not in a cafe or anything like that, just in the middle of nowhere, in this beautiful spot just off the back of the old Colonial Road. Good morning from Isfahan, I think it is. When you go through places so quickly you forget the name of everywhere. Well, I do anyway. But anyway, talking about forgetting things, I really badly overslept, so I haven't been sleeping very well recently. I've been getting about 3 hours of broken sleep and just being woken up by people at the checkpoint or in a cafe, people shouting or moving around and stuff. So I've slept really crap, and I've been riding along at times and like drifting off and waking up and being like, oh, I just simply can't keep my eyes open, and it's really terrible. Just feeling really dizzy and like trying to slap myself in the face to wake up. I set on my bivvy last night, outdoor research bivvy, and I love it. It's a hoop bivvy, and it felt like, oh, it felt amazing. The luxury. I've got a really nice sleep system with me, so I set that up at about 12ish and was set an alarm for 4. So I thought, yeah, I'll get 4.5 hours of really quality sleep. I knew I'd sleep better in a bivvy outdoors than inside, and I must have turned my alarm off. Next minute I woke up at 6:45 and was like, shit, and quickly started packing my bivvy and set up away, which didn't take too long, which is why I bought a bivvy instead of a tent. So I just got a quick omelette, coffee, and hello, and yeah, headed on now. Obviously the sleep's made me feel like 10 times better. I feel amazing. Oh, I've got to stop here and get some shots. Just trying to balance everything. Is carnage, trying to get some nice shots and eat enough and sleep enough and ride the distance, and yeah,
I love mornings here. They are my favourite. Sleep and food, eh? That's all that matters. Nice people. I feel like I've woken up with so much clarity, probably because I feel more human after sleeping and eating a really nice breakfast. But I just feel so grateful for my life, and to be able to witness stuff like this makes me really emotional. Just so grateful that we get to live this life and we can choose whatever we want to do with it. We make our own restrictions and things, and make me feel so privileged when I come to these countries and I see how people are living and I see how little they've got but how happy they are, and they make the most of everything and they live day by day. And I think that's a really good lesson, is to live day by day, take each day as it comes and just focus on that day. We put so much pressure and deadlines and expectations on ourselves. It creates unnecessary stress. So when you do step away from the normal world and you come and do stuff like this, you realise what really matters. One more reflection, because I'm on a roll here. How quick does life go? Like, how quickly does it go? I'm only 22, but it feels like yesterday I was 15 and I set up this YouTube channel and I was going bushcrafting with my dad, and that's 7 years ago. It's so scary, and maybe some of you might have watched me all that time ago, but I can't believe where that's gone. Makes you feel a little bit, I don't know, strange. Also, I've got a lovely husky voice from inhaling all this dust. I'm just leaving checkpoint 3. I decided to stay here in the end after a really hard decision whether to push on and camp out, but I stayed just because I can get some food, charge my stuff, and I was pretty exhausted. But yeah, that's checkpoint 3 done and dusted. This is the final push now to the finish. So I just had the best power nap in here. I just got my quilt from out of my handlebar bag, and I feel so much better. I was falling asleep on my bike. So this was the last push to the finish. It seemed very out of reach at this moment in time. My body ached and felt weak. I was dreaming of a long sleep, and my saddle sores were causing me problems. I even thought I was hallucinating when I saw a tree full of goats. I delved deep for the next 2 days in order to get to that finish line. So I've just got to the top of this big viewpoint, and you can see the sea, you can see the ocean, and that just changed the game for me. I've been feeling quite sluggish today, lacking energy, and thinking there's a long way to go. I don't know if I'm going to make it, and just seeing that sea has brought me some new hope. It has been such a hot day, and it's been interesting listening to the other riders' views and how they're feeling with only 2.5 days left till the cut-off, and everyone claims that they're feeling stressed.
After a week of riding constantly, we were now left with over 100 miles until the finish, which created a ton of pressure, but also excitement.
It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
It's the hope.
Quote of the trip.
We spent 12 kilometres trekking through thick sand, which was barely rideable, with the aim of getting to a Shell garage for some food. After trying my hardest to get there, it turned out it was closed and forced me and other riders to sleep there that night so we could resupply in the morning for our final full day of the race.
This was a wide move.
I'm currently cycling up Paradise Valley, which is this beautiful gorge and this huge road climb. I have got less than 2 days to finish this race, and there's still a long way to go. There's a lot of climbing involved, and this is one of the significant passes at the end to get over. Luckily it's on the road, but it is so hot. I just feel like I haven't got loads of energy, and I've sort of just been trying to eat as much as I can, but trying to get the same amount of calories that you're putting out each day is difficult. Right, the only way is forward, I guess. Onwards and upwards. It is a very, very steep path, and you can see just the tears going up this mountain. Hopefully when we get to the top, we'll be able to see the sea, and that will give me a bit of hope.
The ocean eventually came into view, and then after a little while longer, I was riding alongside it as I rode on the home straight. This final day felt like an eternity, and I laid my bivvy down in the dirt by the side of the road multiple times, trying to rejuvenate my strength, until I could see the walls of Essaouira, the finish of the Atlas Mountain race. After 8 days, 13 hours and 50 minutes, I made it, which I couldn't quite believe. The week felt like 2, and it was hard to digest that it was all over, feeling a mix of emotions. After it being so full on for what seemed like eternity, it felt weird just to slow down and just be.
It was the after party for the first Silverberg Mountain race, and it was the first race I ever organised. It was this harebrained idea to do a race in Kyrgyzstan. I thought nobody would want to come. It turned into this whole series now. And when I was at the after party, Sheila and Rich came over and they said, "Oh, if you'd like to do another race somewhere, I think Morocco could be a good place to do it."
And Morocco sure was a good place to do it. I finished the race and left Morocco behind, but it took me weeks for my body to fully regain its strength and mentally recover, as well as adapting to a new routine again. Until next time.